everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Gameable Audio. I am your host, Kristoffer Johansson, as always. And today we have another guest at my side. And this guest is none other than the other half of Dual Aeon, David Almroth. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Hello.
There have been a lot of discussions back and forth. We've been planning this podcast for a really long time, right?
Yeah, that's true. And that's not me playing hard to get or anything like that. It's not part of the game method. It's mostly about life getting in the way, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just about you. It's about both of us. When we were initially planning, I kind of lost my job and everything, and then I was moving to another country and so on, so... it's been on both sides, I would say. But now we finally found some time to sit down and talk about amazing things.
Yeah, man.
And we've really loaded up this one. Initially, we were only going to talk about a little bit more about Dual Aeon, but something else kind of came up, which is, in my opinion, more interesting.
Yeah. So back in, I think, February or something like that, I released... a new album under the name Tetra-eder, for you English-speaking people out there. It contains 1 hour of chiptune music, so it's basically me grabbing my folder of unfinished songs and finishing them, and then putting it out there to get the feeling of, yeah, I finally did something. So yeah, that's... some of the things that we will talk about today.
Yeah, and it is so suitable for this podcast, and I'm so happy to be able to cover this for you as well. But before we dive straight into that, basically, let's actually focus a little bit more about you and your background. I would love to hear what actually got you into music first and foremost.
Yeah.
So let's start there. What started it all?
Yeah, let's rewind the tape a bit and go back to the pivotal moment of my sort of video game history to sort of paint the picture of how things came to be. So my first really clear memory of video games was when me and my older sister got an NES for Christmas when I was 5 in 92, something like that. So the NES had been around for 11 years, I think, in Sweden. And we got a bunch of games for it as well. And it included Tiny Toons, Mega Man 4, The Addams Family, and Track and Field 2. Like a real sort of go get my dad type of game to push the buttons really fast. And we also got this game that shaped my musical interest in terms of video game music. And it was Star Tropics. Somewhat overlooked, I might think, but that is a game that I still return to today for its music, with its sort of tropical, mystical, very melodic and rhythm-driven feeling. So that is something that has inspired me, sort of in my music making since then.
And these were all the games that you kind of got, like, from the get-go. Then.
Yeah.
Damn,
spoiled.
That's a lot of games.
Spoiled. But that is
or just lucky, right?
Yeah. But that is what you get when you purchase a 11-year-old console. I guess because the Super Nintendo was just out in Sweden, so perhaps it was sort of a bargain to get that that sort of package deal for the NES, I think.
Okay.
So, but I had friends that had the cooler consoles at the time, like the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive. But for me, it was the NES that started it all, and then I made the huge jump from NES to the N64, where I sort of got caught up in like one of my favorite soundtracks, and it's very basic, perhaps, of me to say this, but Mario 64. Of course, right, with the Dire Docks song and also one of my favorites, Banjo-Kazooie, with the soundtrack from Grant Kirkhope.
Yes.
Super good soundtrack as well, and especially like the the main track or the overworld tune, the Gruntilda's Lair song that looped throughout the entire overworld, and it morphed depending on where you were on the map. Was very I think there
was kind of dynamic in a sense.
Yeah, right. So it went sort of tropical when you went to the beach area, and it became a bit more orientalic or a bit more Egyptian when you got to those stages. So yeah, that is also some of the sounds that really shaped my sort of musical thinking when it comes to games. And I did not realize that at the time, but now sort of looking back at it, that's some of the things that shaped me. I'm not comparing myself to the composers of those games by any means, but I think there is something there.
Yeah,
lingering.
But even from this, I would say, young age, then was it the video game music that brought you into the world of music in all, or to start playing music and so on, or were you more interested in normal music, but kind of were inspired by video game music from a young age?
Yeah, I think I realized that there was more than just blips and blops in the games that I played, and I sort of hummed along to it, and I understood that this is something that brings more feelings into the game, besides from the graphics and the experience overall. So I think I kind of early understood that, and especially when I was forced to sort of mute the TV and play, the experience was something completely different. But then I sort of went into the perhaps dark ages, or at least from a video game perspective, where I dabbled a bit with the Windows machine instead. But I also sort of got some really good music out of that. And the one sort of game that I would like to highlight from my PC gaming years is Deus Ex, one sort of role-playing shooter kind of game. It has a kick-ass soundtrack by the composer Alexander Brandon. He made most of the songs, and that is also something that has really affected sort of the sounds of Dual Aeon, I would say.
And many may not know about Alexander Brandon as well, but he's also a composer that's been working on a lot of PC games that many people have played.
Yes, Jackrabbit and
yes,
yep,
and Unreal Tournament as well.
Yeah, for sure. He's been around.
He definitely been.
But I think he's now more of a voice actor, I think.
He does a little bit of both still. He, I think it was last year, they still made a remake of the Unreal Tournament soundtrack.
Right.
Yeah.
But he has such a good sort of taste for melodies and stuff. So if you haven't heard it, you should really look it up. And I think also the Deus Ex soundtrack is on Spotify. I think some sort of remake of the thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But then to sort of go over to when I actually started playing music, this was more of me sort of bathing around in the musical landscape of games. So then when the teenage years hit, I was about 12. Then I picked up my mom's guitar and started playing an acoustic guitar. And I realized, oh shit, I'm left-handed. I started playing in front of the mirror because I'm so vain, and now I need to restring every guitar that I try to pick up.
No.
There I sort of my go-to music back then, when I realized that, was Jimi Hendrix, a left-handed guitar player, and as well Kurt Cobain from Nirvana. Those were my jams when I started off. So I tried to learn as much as I could from both Jimi Hendrix and Nirvana. And then eventually the teenage angst kicked in, and I dyed my hair black, and I started to listen to System of a Down and Slipknot and more heavy stuff.
More hardcore.
Yeah, some more hardcore stuff. Still melodic.
Yes.
Yeah, so and I started some bands. Slughead was the very, very first band that I started.
Slughead. I kind of like that name. But at the same time, Slughead, it reminds me a little bit, which could be like a baseball band or something.
Yeah, right. And then we started this new metal band called Kabuto, which is helmet in Japanese. And we had 2 songs, and then we split up. But then things took a turn. and I started to play bass in a reggae band actually in my hometown.
Okay, so going into another genre.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that was very formative, and I got to play with some of the best musicians my age in Nyköping, and there I developed my musicality a lot, like understanding how to arrange stuff and how to write parts. We had a brass section. We were 9, I think, at most in the band, so it was a lot of sort of.
Is that a commonality to be so many people in a reggae band?
Yeah, I think so, but or at least if you want to have, keyboards, percussion, drums, guitar, so it sort of adds up, but then you need to be economical about what parts you play. Everyone cannot play at the same time, so you sort of get an understanding of how to arrange a song, like when to play and not to play. So that I did for the most of my time during my high school years.
Did you work with the arrangement yourself as well, or did you just learn a little bit more while somebody else was arranging?
Yeah, we did. All of us did write stuff. So we came with sort of prepared MIDI tracks that everyone had to learn from the top of the. None of us, or perhaps some of us, but not me at least, could write notes. So everything was by ear. You needed to learn your parts by just listening to it in a rehearsal space with 8 other people watching you. So that sort of trained that part of the musicality as well. And
don't mess up.
Right. That's the thing that chases every musician playing live, I think. When is the next potential part that I can mess up? But it was also sort of during the peak MySpace era, so we were able to send links with our music, and we got out a lot of Nyköping and played in Stockholm and Lund as well. So we got into our little bus and we drove around the country. So it was very nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So compared to now, like to break through a different kind of thing back then, it wasn't that easy, and we also. Yeah, we recorded a bunch of records as well that we sold at the local record shop in Nyköping. So it was very, very nice. And we're still friends. And some of the guys that I play with are sort of professional touring musicians now. So
really cool.
Yeah, so that was very much a good place to sort of grow the musicality. And it's always nice to be the person who knows who doesn't know the most. Like, you can always be inspired by the people that are better at playing, and you can learn a lot from them. So and I also have some fond memories, like mixing. We did not drop the sort of video game thing because it was always sort of close to us when we were in the studio. I recall us rolling in like a CRT screen and playing Tony Hawk, Pro Skater 3 for the PS2 and Metal Gear Solid and things like that. So it was always a part of it, even though it took the backseat compared to the music.
But if gaming has been so interconnected in some way, did when you were in these bands, did you utilize video game music in a sense to draw inspiration from? Like, Tony Hawk does have a lot of different genres. Did you ever like, what if we made a reggae song that would fit Tony Hawk, for example? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, I think it was perhaps in the back of the mind, like with Goldfingers and those sort of pop ska bands that were around, that were popular. It sort of influenced the music, even though it was sort of a mixed relation with video games in the group as a whole. Like, David, you stop geeking out. Play the bass. Like, it was a mix there in the band, but to some extent, for sure, like trying to bring in some synth parts as well. But I think it also goes back to like me liking games like Star Tropics, that is very sort of reggae-ish. So it's always been a part of the music that I grew up around. But then when I finally moved out of Nyköping and I moved to Gothenburg in 2008, something like that. I've
Yep.
studied music at something called Folkhögskola, like not a super serious school, but you were allowed to play music all day for 1 year, where I met up with a lot of musicians from around Sweden as well, and got to play a lot. And we decided to move to Gothenburg, a bunch of us, in 2008. And then I slowly started to fall back in love with what was then retro gaming. And I went to the retro gaming convention, Retrospelsmässan.
Yep.
And I also started collecting a bit. It was perhaps at the right time before the prices increased a lot. So it was a good time to sort of buy the games that you had when you were younger and things like that. So I got into collecting a bit as well, and starting to sort of re-listen to the soundtracks. And I also came across podcasts. That was super big for me in terms of the relationship to video games and stuff like that. And I came across Pixelklubben 64 that we will get back to, and podcasts like Bitar till kaffet that was very focused on the chip scene and nördigt and spelklassikermusik, äntligen spelmusik, Paripixlar, some Swedish very retro game focused podcasts, and also the YouTube community got sort of started with channels like Revanche and Gaming Grannar, and I recognized so much, like especially in Pixelklubben when they talked about like growing up and loving games, and it was so much that I connected with. So I sort of fell back in love with video games then, and I really felt like I wanted to be part of the community.
And I noticed some of the podcasts that you were listening to were also video game music related.
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm guessing since you have so much background within music, then that it felt kind of, I would say, nostalgic in a sense, but also a way of growing due to the fact that even for me listening in on video game music podcasts, like I just love being inspired because a lot of people in these podcasts have a totally different kind of arrangement of what type of games they play compared to me. There have been so many like suggested games that I didn't even know existed that I played. Like Ghost Trick is one of those games, for example.
For sure, and like my friend Magnus Dylan, the other half of Dual Aeon, to quote him, like retro never ends. Like it's an endless sort of pit to dig from in terms of video games and music and whatever. You always hear something new, or like it's never ending because it's so subjective to what you like, and there's so much to dig into when it comes to hidden gems and games just released in one country or what have you, like the platforms that you did not grow up with. For me, like listening into music from the Amiga scene or the Commodore 64, like it's totally new to me, but it's still something super awesome. And just to be able to sort of geek out and listen into all the knowledge that people have, that is super inspiring. And for you as well, of course, to listen to what you are able to sort of put out there for us to just digest. It's so appreciated. So I tried to sort of shoehorn my way into the community. So I reached out to a lot of those podcasts and YouTube channels and asked, like, can I do your intro song, or can I create some? I tried to become like the music guy for retro gaming podcasts and things like that. So I've done intro songs for a bunch of them, just to sort of say, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. Can we let's talk and let me be part of it. And that is how I met with Magnus from Pixelklubben, and we started to collaborate and we made our first song as Dual Aeon in 2020 with the song Kalinka Kozak.
Yes, one of my favorite songs from Dual Aeon, especially from the early on.
Right, so that's the first song, and I know that he talked about, like, we wrote lyrics, him and Sebastian, about this character from Mega Man 4. which was one of the games that I got back in 1992 that sort of started. So it circles back on itself a bit. So since then we've been releasing and writing music together on like different topics that are dear to us. It can be video game and inspired, or anime, or like different sort of geeky scenarios. And we share a love for like retro overall and pop culture, so it's very easy for us to bounce ideas off each other. And we have, for instance, one song that we released is called Parasite, but the work in progress name was Mother Brain's Sorrow. So it was basically written from the Metroid game character Mother Brain, and how she was envious of Samus Aran and trying to compare herself to the main character in the game. Like, we're both mechanical, but you got all the goods, and I'm just a brain in a jar. What did I do to deserve this? So we talk a lot about the lyrics are this, and the theme is this, and the sounds should evoke this kind of feeling that you get from this specific game or this specific TV series or something. So
that is awesome.
It's all related.
Yeah. And for me, like, listening in, that is one thing I haven't really thought about with Parasite. I think I listened to it like one or twice or something like that. Maybe I had it on repeat and I actually heard it more times, but like initially me clicking on the song once or twice, and I didn't really pay enough attention to understand that it was that kind of thing. But I kind of could understand, especially early on with Dual Aeon, that there were so many references to, like you're saying, different series and so on that inspired you guys. And over the course of time, it felt like it has changed a little bit, but you kind of still keep a core to older music, the nostalgia you can play on people.
Yeah, right.
Especially with the newer, more Japanese ones. I still feel like this could be like a Star Singer intro or something like that. That's the kind of vibe you're going for, but I'm still enjoying it like a pop song.
Yeah, we used to sort of joke about this. We're very much into sort of making it hard for ourselves when trying to do something. Like, let's go for an 80s anime intro kind of thing, and let's write it in Japanese that we don't know, and let's try to do this and this. Let's try to have like real horns playing. So it's a lot of collaboration with different people around the like in the world that we live in now with such a thing as the internet, right? Where you can connect with people across the globe and send tracks back and forth. It's very, very nice to be able to pull like a singer in from somewhere to get sort of a new touch on it, but it's still sort of mine and Magnus' vision of it.
Yeah.
And especially for me, like writing all the music and singing the demos and stuff, I get tired of hearing myself. So it's very nice to bring someone else in to sing on the songs, to sort of get a more objective view on things, and not just listening to me pronouncing things the wrong way or sounding stupid or whatever. Like, it's very, very nice to work in that way.
Yeah, and I remember when I talked to Magnus about these things, especially with the different kind of artist or the vocalist that comes in and sings. He didn't have too much to do with that. I understand that you were the one that kind of handpicked and worked with them the most.
Yeah, I sort of showcase. Like, now we got a demo from this guy and this guy and this guy. Which one do you like the most and why? So it's very much like one thing as well, and I think that's the key to a successful sort of collab, that we rarely say no. Like, it's always like, let's try it out and then we will see. Like, trying to be open-minded about things and sort of hassle our way through. Some vocalists have been easier to work with than others, and it's always hard to give feedback, like written feedback. Like, could you pronounce the third word in the fourth measure of the chorus in this way? more like potato. Like it's hard. Right. But it's very nice to work together in that way, and
Yeah.
in some cases we have also met up in Stockholm and worked on tracks together, and then Magnus can stand in front of the mic and sing some stuff as well. It's nice to get another sort of point of view on things as well.
Which I understand is very useful to you guys. We talked a little bit about that when I interviewed him for the special where we talked about Dual Aeon, that usually I think it was like once a year you guys come together and you have like a weekend together and you really like crunching it.
Yeah, we try to sync it with the Syntax Error Club in Stockholm, so we can go out and sort of have the Dual Aeon company party as well.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so we've had some internal Street Fighter tournaments and some Mario Kart tournaments where one of us came out on top. I will not say who. But it might be the last person in the group that you are interviewing. Might be.
But considering going back a little bit too, because I'm really interested, because you said that you were usually singing in and you got tired of hearing your own voice. In some of these tracks, we know that you are the singer in these tracks. But considering like the Japanese tracks, for example, do you know Japanese so you can write and work with it yourself, or do you collab together with the vocalist there when you're actually making a Japanese track?
So the setup for the Japanese tracks are, I think Magnus knows Japanese kind of, because he's been working over there as an English teacher, I think, for a period of time. And he's also a lot more into anime and Japanese culture than I am. I'm more of a sort of basic bitch in terms of that. I know I know Sailor Moon and I know Pokemon and I know the basics, right? And some of the stuff that he has recommended to me. But he knows some fancy Japanese words that we want to get into the text. But then we've been working with a translator in Japan that we have sort of made some rough sketches in English, not thinking too much about if it rhymes or if it makes sense in terms of how the words pop out. And then she gets to listen to it and interpret it into Japanese, and then she sends a demo back to us in Japanese, and then we go hunting for a Japanese vocalist. So it's a bit of a back and forth when working with that.
Is the translator also a singer, or do they just write you back?
No, she sings as good as she can, and then I cut it into pieces and auto-tune it.
Okay.
So we have a reference for the actual singer. So that he or she can sing on top of what the translator has done, or at least that is how we've been working for now. And also sending out the sort of rough Japanese sketch to people in Sweden that we knows Japanese, so they can sort of, now she's talking shit about you guys, or now she's talking about this, so that we can.
This is just a noodle recipe.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but it's very nice, and it's also another way to look at music when you don't understand what they are actually saying. You might know. I've seen the translation of what it actually means, but then you can focus on the melodic parts rather than the actual meaning of the song. So it's very nice.
That is so much fun to hear as well, and looking at the collab happening over edges and so on that you're not familiar with. You're basically employing more people as well in order to get together to create one song. It's not just you and Magnus sitting in and creating the whole thing. You're getting the vocalist, you're getting a translator just to make one song, and in my opinion, that's magic.
Yeah, it's music for the few that listen and appreciate.
But from a music perspective, and especially when we're looking at making the melodies and so on, is something changing when you have worked with a language that you don't necessarily know? Then, like, making music in English or Swedish might come more natural to you than making music that should be suitable for Japanese.
Yeah, for sure. There are a lot of, like in Japanese, there are a lot of short words, and to sort of get it to flow in a nice way compared to, like, we try not to listen too much to the English demos of the song, because then we will sort of have that as a reference point that cannot be changed. So we try to be open-minded about it. But I think that would be the sort of largest hurdle to get across in terms of writing something for Japanese is the sort of cadence of how the words turn out. But then it's a lot of back and forth as well regarding that. And speaking of sort of making it hard for ourselves, one thing that we have in our sort of unfinished project is we dabbled a bit around with a concept, because we're into concepts as well, like let's create this. So we talked about making a Japanese musical EP in a Western setting, like cowboys and stuff, but in Japanese.
That sounds like a challenge. Okay, yeah.
And also, like, when we, before sort of starting off or before understanding how much work, we talked about, wouldn't it be nice to have a comic book that accompanies the record, where you can follow the plot and you can look at things. So that is still in the unfinished folder for Dual Aeon. We will see if we pick it up.
That feels like a huge beast to walk around with.
Yeah.
Especially making a separate comic book as well. So first and foremost, make an EP that has the overall story, and then make sure to transpire and make all the art for an art book as well, or a comic book.
Yeah, speaking of putting people into work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we will see how that turns out. But it has been super inspiring to write music in Japanese, and to get that contact that we have in Japan with the translator that we keep coming back to. Like, she knows what we want to achieve, and I think she feels comfortable with sharing stuff that is not unfinished. So it's very nice.
That's great. No, but I think we got in a good grasp of who you are and where you kind of are now, because we're basically falling into what has happened lately to you.
Yeah.
But before we diving into the real special thing we're going into, we're listening in on the latest Dual Aeon release that you had this year. And that track is named Searching.
Searching for what I could do, looking, there's something about us two. Searching, are we both really moving on? Searching, every step all the way follow through. Did I hold you too tight? Did my smile shine too bright? Did you wish to make it alright? What is there to retain? What is left for us then? Will you hold me like that again? Can we change our ways? Can we have normal days? Can I cope with the loneliness? Couldn't say want your soul, thought I knew, didn't know. Couldn't you simply never let
And there we're fading out the track named Searching from Dual Aeon. This duo together with, what's the last name of it? I kind of forgot. Magnus?
You're putting me on the spot here. Magnus Dylan Johansson.
Johansson it is. That's your other half
of
this.
MJ for short.
MJ for short. And it's not Michael Jackson this time. Might have been cool, you and Michael Jackson together.
Right.
Would be extra cool now since he's dead, right?
In another life.
Yeah, exactly. Nonetheless, so we're listening on Searching. And for everybody who's new to this podcast, so every time we listen on a track, we always start off with the segment called Emotion. This is basically me sitting in, listening on this specific track over and over again until I'm starting to feel something. I'll note these things down. And that will become like the small little trampoline that we will go off on. We might discuss a little bit from what I get, but we might not. We will see. So my emotion for this song named Searching is I had a little hard time pinpointing the genre of this. It gave me a little bit of a blend of like dark synthwave and pop. So maybe dark pop wave? Is that a thing? But at the same time, it's like it comes to this really good guitar solo right at the end of this piece, and this one definitely tells me like this is more rock, so maybe this is rock wave. Overall, this is a dark vibe song, and it gives a little bit of this kind of melancholy emotion to me. But overall, I really enjoy this track. So what do you feel about rock wave?
Rockwave, let's trademark it right now. I will register the domain, and then we can share the profit of what comes of it.
Because I know from a fact, like when we're looking at Dual Aeon, like you have influences of pop, retro sound, and synthwave within this music, but this one feels so much darker in a sense. Are we still in the genre of synthwave?
Yeah, I would say so. Like when we started off, we talked a lot about like should this be a synthwave project, or because we really like the aesthetics and the sounds of it, but we wanted to sort of not put us in a corner where we only could create one type of music, but this is definitely like in that area of genres, I would say. But just as you said, it's sort of transitions over time from something more synth-wavy into some more rock, almost grunge like vibes. So yeah, I agree. Your emotions are valid.
Thank you. You're hearing me, and I can feel that you're seeing me.
Yeah, right. I see right through you into your very being. No, but yeah, it is the feeling that we wanted to evoke with this song. Like the lyrics are sort of searching for something, a love that has been lost. And the chorus is like lack of trust and lack of, so it speaks about a relationship, I would say, that is perhaps on the low in terms of the theme, and just as you said, like trying to start off in a very synthwave kind of way, and then for the chorus just blast off into more guitar driven, and then again like pulling back to the more synthwavy kind of thing. So sort of utilizing
the emotions kind of spurs up, like becoming a little bit more like a flame. It's like, oh, this is something I'm burning for, and then we're going down low.
Yeah, so
like just having the embers going.
So it sort of evokes the whole sort of grunge thing if you look at it with songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit, that starts off with a non-distorted guitar and then jumps into full blast. It's a lot of sort of quiet, loud kind of thing looking at it. So it's very much grunge-like, and with the sort of very cool vocals by Ella Lyngsö, who is the vocalist on this one. And this is not sort of a hired gun from the internet. This is a person that I actually met in real life, not in cyberspace, because I was put together with her and some other musicians in a wedding band for a friend's wedding in 2025. So there we played some Jimmy Eat World, sort of emo and Broder Daniel songs for the couple that got married that are very much into sort of indie music and stuff like that. And
That's really cool.
Yeah, so we stayed in touch, and when I always wanted a female vocalist on this song, because I think sort of the contrast to the guitars and everything with sort of an falsetto semi-soft voice is nice for the contrast. So I asked her.
Overall, looking at the synthwave genre, for me who likes synthwave genre as well, I feel like to the genre itself, it feels so much more suitable with a female voice in comparison to a male voice.
Yeah, right.
And I think just like you're saying, talking about the falsetto and so on, because if you're having a guy in, it usually becomes darker. I don't know the term for that one specifically, but it becomes more like a dark synthwave kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think also from a mixing perspective, it's so much easier to have something in a higher register to not clash with the guitars and stuff like that. So it's nice to have someone like up in the air to sort of separate it, and it also it's suitable for when the guitar solo comes in and sort of takes that register as well with the sort of distinct tones. But playing the guitar on this track is a guy called Jonathan Kalemar, who I studied music with, who is he's a Yngve Malmsteen kind of guy. So I call him when I need sort of fast guitar stuff that I cannot play by myself. So he bashed this one out, and he's also played on a couple of other tracks of ours as well. Shinji Rarenai, one of the Japanese ones.
Yep.
Sort of a more big band jazzy fusion thing he plays solo guitar on, and also the song called Defender. That is, and the topic of that one is Godzilla, the defender of Tokyo, just to circle back to geeky topics or pop culture things.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. And the song as well is very sort of minimal in forms of the arrangement. It's not that many tracks. It's perhaps 7 or 8 tracks for the basic sort of background instrumental.
When we're talking about tracks, like generally when we're talking about one track, for me as a mortal, we're talking about one song, one track.
Ah, okay.
But when you're talking about track, you're talking about like how many channels, like you have one guitar, one tape,
exactly. Tracks within tracks within the tracks within the tracks.
Yes.
Like very much
Inception.
Yeah, right. That's what it is. But it turned out super cool, I think, and it's also it has that sort of Schlager length of the song. It's I don't know, it's about 3 minutes or something, I think. No.
Searching is 4 minutes.
I tried to stretch it.
And you forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. But I'm playing it at double speed, so it's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
No, but
that's why.
But that is also hard to sort of contain it, like because when you start to write something, then and then another part, and then this part, and then you overdo it, then it becomes like a dish with kebab and yogurt and everything that you like, and then it all goes to shit.
Do you have any functionality for yourselves? Like, oh, this is too much. We need to cut back on things, or you're like, okay, this was good. Let's cut the rest. Is it as easy, or do you need to kind of make it smaller somehow?
Way back, it was when my computer started to make funny noises. Then I knew like too many tracks within the track. We need to cut some of it out.
Too much Inception.
Right. But I try to, because I know I will be the one mixing it. So to make it easier for me, it's sort of to keep myself sane, to not put too many tracks in. But it's very easy now that you're able to like. And eventually things will sound better than they might be when you just stack different instruments upon each other, and it's sort of a pitfall that I think a lot of musicians can agree on, that it's hard. it's easy to sort of put makeup on something or polish a turd until you cannot understand what it actually is. So, but in this case, it turned out very, very nice, and it was easy to sort of give some space for the vocals as well.
So would you say you might have had like an edge growing up when you did, coming into music when you did, considering the exponential like technology advancement we've done in just the last 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, I would say so. And also sort of circling back to playing in a reggae band with 9 people, knowing like everyone cannot play at the same time because it will turn into shit. So I think that having that in the back of my mind as well is helping out with not sort of overdoing it. And that can also be sort of a segue into the chip tunes as well, with the restrictions that you have.
Yeah,
I would say. And I can also sort of shout out Ella, again, the vocalist. She has her own project with music released under the name Ellyn on Spotify. So it's ELLYN. So I think she has 2 tracks released now. It's not in the same fashion as the one that we did, but it's more of a poppy, dreamy vibe. But you should check that out if you like the vocals on our track.
And we will definitely have some sort of link to that, hopefully, in some way. You might need to help me, but we will see.
I will help you out.
I can solve it myself.
By the power of internet, I will help you out.
Thank you. One thing I really like here, Dual Aeon, in the last like year, I feel like you've been focused so much more on the Japanese part, and you've been doing this kind of up top, happy-go-lucky kind of vibe. Yep. Overall, of course, there've been exceptions. So it's kind of fun to see more English work again.
Yeah.
And this track was the first released track for Dual Aeon in 2026 as well.
Yep.
While most of these tracks have been, it's just fun and feels fresh to hear something in a familiar language again. Even though I personally love the Japanese ones.
Yeah, but it's nice to mix it up, like, and it also gives us sort of a breather in terms of how hard it is to make less people involved, like with translators and stuff like that. So it's a bit easier to finish an English song, I would say, overall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can understand that, because you have so much more people that need to interact and work, and you have other sort of structures and so on, you utilizing the melodic, like the vocal melody of Japanese.
Right.
Like,
right.
Do you ever get into situations where you need to rework the melody?
Yeah, for sure.
The voices in Japanese then?
Yeah, for sure. And also like in terms of the key of the song working out, because when you need to change something and you have this sort of chain of different things that you need to go through, if you need to change out a word and you've had a singer sing it, her or his part in Japanese, and then you need to go back and you need to retranslate it and you need to find another word that fits. So it's been a bit of building Lego with the Japanese language in those songs, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. And considering like when you start making a song for Dual Aeon, and this will also kind of work a little bit as a segment towards what we're going to talk about next. What's usually the first kind of part you kind of work with in order to start working on a melody? Is it similar to what you did with the video game music, that you usually start with a melody, or do you usually start with a vocal thing or a theme that goes into more against Dual Aeon?
I would say that the process is kind of similar for all. I go to my voice memos on my phone, and then I hear myself sort of snapping my fingers and singing a melody in somewhere, and hearing my daughter scream in the background, and the vacuum cleaner going on, and then I try to sort of, was this a good melody? And then I try to put it down on the keys and record the melody with a lead sound or something. And then most commonly I go for the drum track to sort of get the framework of the song, like what tempo should it be, because there's a lot of, I think at least, how the song will feel when you hear the drums. So most of the times I start with the melody, then the drums, and then I sort of try to paint the landscape in between. Where should this melody fit within chords and stuff like that? So it's very melody driven, I would say, and that's that's sort of a counter reaction on how I've been making music with the different bands that I've been part of, because it has been very instrument driven, and then you ask the singer, like, yeah, this is the track, the bass will play this, the guitar will play this, now make something up, now make a melody for this. So you sort of end with the thing that most people will actually hear when listening to the song. And it's very much based on like musicianship. I'm doing air quotes right now, but like the bass should play this intricate part that no one ever will care about except for me playing the bass. So that is something that I've come to realize like later on, that focus on the melody, because that is what most people will hear. Long answer for a simple question.
Yeah, but it's a really good like painted answer. Like for me, I've heard that usually the bass is one of the more important instrument that you can have at a band. I've never really understood it because I can't really focus on hearing a bass usually.
No, right. That's more of a feeling, right?
Yeah, but I heard it's so much easier because they're always on point in all the kind of sections. Compared to others that can kind of switch up certain things.
Yeah, you're right. And it might be cliche, but the bass is sort of the glue in between the drums and the rest of the song, I would say.
Yeah.
But it takes a bass player who has played in a rehearsal space with bad monitors to sort of understand and try to recognize what the bass is actually playing. So that is something you as a bass player, you listen a lot to the bass, but you've sort of trained your ear to pick a song apart, to hear each track individually, sort of.
It sounds like there's so much more to bass players than what meets the eye. Then.
Yeah, I like to think so, since I played the bass myself. But yeah.
It's like, for me, just listening in on this, like bass players, they're so special. I would say, like,
slap the bass.
Slap the bass.
What more can you?
So basically, the bass players. I'm just gonna go to the extreme right now because it's hilarious. Yeah. But bass players feels like the psychopath of instruments. So.
Yeah. It's the one that you let out of the cage and onto the stage, and then you let him or her do her thing. Perhaps together with the drummer. Can be in the same cage. But yeah, that might be the case for some bands, but not the bands that I've played bass in.
No, but then on top of everything, like if you were leaving Dual Aeon behind now, so we can focus a little bit more on your solo project.
Yeah.
When did you start getting into this? Before we were listening in, I want to hear a little bit when you kind of started it all.
Yeah.
It sounded initially like you've been working on this for quite some time.
Yeah, this has been sort of my... I like to think of it, and it might be pretentious, but like a Sudoku for my music ear, just to sort of sit down and try to write something quite fast and with a lot of frames, like, or so just to sit down and have this sort of basic project that I've saved that has 4 channels, 2 pulse channels, 1 wave channel, so 3 melodic channels that can play either arpeggios to sort of emulate a chord. And now you can stop me if you want me to go further into detail on what I actually say. But to sort of make something out of as little as possible is quite refreshing to sort of keep yourself on top of things. So I've been doing that, I guess, for 20 years or something like that. But I never got into writing it in a tracker. That is a specific way to write chiptunes that a lot of people use to emulate or to be able to play the songs on actual hardware, where you more have
you have the same kind of limitations and chord progression and everything that they had on
exactly.
hardware back in the day.
Yeah, but you use perhaps more the keyboard, and you click in and you add the values to the notes that will play, and it sort of scrolls from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. But that is a workflow that I've never sort of gotten around to since I started in another area of creating music. So in my music programs, I go from the left to the right, and I play most of my things with an actual keyboard rather than programming it and putting in numbers as many chiptune artists do. So it's been a sort of a back and forth for me to be able to emulate the sound of the actual hardware with the software that I use. But like the latest 3 years or something, I've been able to create a sort of authentic sound because software has gotten better to actually emulate the actual hardware that you play on. So, but I've been doing this, and sort of gazing into the chip scene and being super impressed of what people are able to sort of crank out of just working on a Game Boy or something. But it's a steep learning curve to understand how to create music on the actual hardware like that. But I'm super impressed, and I've always been sort of listening to name a few, like Fantomen K, a Swedish artist, and Megan Echo, also Swedish. And listening into what they are able to create with this sort of more is more kind of mindset. And you will hear this in the tracks later as well, but you need to sort of make the most out of the things that you have. So then it's a lot of arpeggios and quick melodic things to emulate chords with what you have. So it's sort of solving a crossword or a Sudoku for me to sit down and do that kind of thing.
That's awesome. But with that said, let's actually go in and listen to an actual track on this Sudoku brain and see what comes out. So specifically for this, so what was the name? Because I was reading it Tetra-eder.
I pronounce it, then that's the thing as well with Dual Aeon. Dual Aeon, always picking like band names or project names that are super hard to pronounce. But this is, I think it's a geometrical figure. Here in Sweden, I don't know if that is the same across the world, but you can get milk to your coffee in a certain triangular shaped thing. That is a Tetra-eder, for instance. Like it's the triangular 3-dimensional shape. Thought it sounded cool.
The caltrop shaped milk packages.
Yeah, right. And
it also awesome.
Yeah, and it also sounds a bit like a dinosaur if you squint your eyes.
It does. It does. I can definitely vouch for that. But yeah, we've selected 2 tracks of each, and this is from the album that you just called Video Game Music.
Yep.
And the first track from this album that we're going to play is the one I picked, and this is called Leberdev. Leberdev from Video Game Music. And my emotion for this one, this is a track that kind of gives me the vibe of a level 2-1. We did the intro levels, we just got to the Windy Creek area, and we need to focus a little bit more on platforming. Yes, I do see a 2D platforming game in front of me when I'm hearing this music. And I would say that specifically this track gives me vibes that could be in a Ninja Gaiden game. And you will kind of hear me say a lot of different games to these tracks that we're listening to today, because I think, for the love of God, that you have made a soundtrack video game music here that it just has a lot of inspiration from like old 8-bit Nintendo games that you've played when you were younger. But nonetheless, the melody, it is quick. It does have more of these kind of dragged out notes, and these kind of help to sell the kind of windy feeling that I'm getting. I would love to hear, when we're looking at this album here, is it reference to a lot of different games?
Yeah, of course. That's sort of inevitable to be influenced by that when you sort of decide to make a NES sounding album. But I can start off also sort of circling back, like the name of the song, Leberdev. It's from a character from the game Deus Ex that I mentioned earlier, and it's a character that you meet in an airfield level. So that was sort of my imaginative theme for this. I envisioned an airfield in the style of perhaps the first Turtles game to the NES, or one of the top-down versions of Metal Gear, like for MSX or NES, or the Game Boy Color version.
Yep.
So sort of mystical kind of thing, but it also contains some notes and melodic hints from the intro to Pixelklubben 64 that I made. So it has some hidden, and it might take a couple of listens to pick them out, or a bunch. So listen to it on Spotify. No, but yeah, I'm like the overall. I'm trying to catch a bit of, just as you mentioned, like a bit of a hectic sort of chased feeling, but also with a part that sort of turns everything around, where it more sounds like you're soaring above the clouds. So it's a bit on the topics that you mentioned, but that is at least the feelings that it evokes to me. And it also, like, I think the process for this song was very, very fast, as it is for most of the songs in this style for me. So it's sort of me falling forward and trying to catch up with my feet, and not trying to play too sloppy. So yeah, that's sort of what I envisioned with this. But the NES style is unavoidable. But it's I feel very honored that you mentioned games like Ninja Gaiden and such. It's very nice to hear.
Because looking through like the whole album and so on, it didn't feel like we were going a little bit back and forth. It didn't feel like I had some sort of story or something like that. For me, when I listened through, it felt like I could theoretically have been listened to like a medley of some sort of just inspired NES games in a sense.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of an like intention? Was that intended in some way, or that just a happy little accident?
Yeah, no, I would say that sort of comes with me cleaning up a lot of projects that I had. So it's very much a potpourri of different kind of themes, but then trying to at least sound wise, not talking about sort of the emotions that the melodies evoke, but each track that it should sound at least similar, that it could be from a very mixed game, but it at the same time as with the Dual Aeon project, it's a mixed bag. Like every song is a new opportunity to explore a different genre, I would say. So it's bits and pieces from the games that I played growing up, I would say. So you're on point there.
Okay.
But it also, I think, like in terms of there is something for everyone, sort of mindset as well. But I think, like, moving forward, I would like to make releases that are more sort of held together and evoke the same kind of feeling, where you perhaps go from level 1 to whatever, like, and it's sort of in the same universe, but this is more of a look.
So you will have more of a story.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. No, because right now it feels more like a proof of concept in a sense, and I kind of like that you have. There is so much different kind of length of these tracks, and we will have a little bit of length differences in the tracks that we've selected for today that we're listening to, but we have even more on the album.
Yeah.
And considering that, it's like if we're looking at NES tracks, they are definitely not long due to the limitations they had on the cartridges, and nowadays we don't have those limitations.
Right.
Like for these longer tracks that you did, was that just because you had more to give on that specific track, for example, or is it more that you just repeated and
there are
added more?
Yeah, I think this track is looping a couple of times, but then it's like, are there things like in this case with the small bits and pieces from the Pixelklubben intro that are put into it that you want to give it a couple of listens, so I looped it a bit more.
Oh.
But it's hard as well to make a song that loops in a good way, where it's not too obvious where the song actually loops. So that is also one of the challenges working with this sort of, when you try to evoke the NES style, I would say. But there's a mix of, perhaps it's something in the back of my mind that the songs that I like are longer. I loop them a couple of more times. There might be something around that, so you can look at the track length and see what songs I like the most.
Oh,
perhaps.
I like that one. Yeah, exactly.
Could be. But there is also, like, since I put this one out on a physical cassette, and the cassettes that I had was 30 minutes on each side, so I needed the entire album to be around 60 minutes. So it was also a bit of pulling in the different tracks to make that happen as well.
Okay, so it was not a necessary evil, but that's the word I'm choosing anyway.
Right.
Because it was easy to understand.
Yeah.
No, but because I find it so fascinated in a sense, because today we can do so much more, even with these kind of limitations.
Yeah.
I've seen so much happening within just the demo scene on music-wise and so on, and people talking about what they can actually crunch into these channels as well, which is just insane in the membrane today.
Yeah, for sure.
So looking at still, like, you could have made so many more tracks, for example, but you choose to stop and make tracks longer instead.
Yeah.
But was that because you felt like, oh, I really want to release this now? Or was there another motivation in a sense?
No, it was a lot about the feeling of getting stuff finished, to get it out, to not be something that stays on my hard drive forever and that I regret not releasing at some point. Like when you dabble around with music in the way that I do, you have a lot of unfinished tracks, and just to sort of put yourself in the mindset, like, this week I will finish as many songs as possible to fit into a 60-minute cassette to bring to this convention where I sold them.
Yep.
So it was nice to sort of put some limitations on how much I could actually do, because that is also sort of the pitfall when you can add things on top all the time. But to stay true as well to the NES sound, if you're looking at perhaps a sample-based thing as the Amiga or something, you have a lot more things that you can achieve. But now with the 3 sort of melodic channels, it's more down to the arpeggios and stuff. If you can do fast things to sort of fill out the song. But I try to stay true to the format that this could actually be a song playing on a Nintendo Entertainment System. So that was sort of the framework that I worked with in terms of both time and technical possibilities.
Yeah. And considering music today, modern times as well, there's so much more happening with music and so on. And theoretically, you could have made a more modern take on video game music as well.
Yeah, for sure.
What made you choose to go more for the chiptune kind of way? Is it just because you want to challenge yourself, for example?
Yeah, for sure. Because again, like, going back to like being able to polish a turd by adding channels, it's sort of the challenge itself to have 4 melodic channels and try to make something out of it to sound more than it actually is. And also being true to, like, the Nintendo Entertainment System was the first console that I got, and that was what I was growing up with. And that is what sort of shaped me musically. So I wanted to stay true to that it as much as I could, given the things that I worked with. So, yeah.
Mm. I think it's fun to hear that you grew up so early with video games and consoles, and then nowadays, like, what is it, 30 years later in a sense, you're going back to it.
Right. Where it all started.
Yeah, like you got into retro collection as well. What was that also retro collecting for the NES then?
Yeah,
Or was it like Super Nintendo?
somewhat.
And Sega?
I also got the consoles that I did not have. I think the largest part of my collection back then was for the Sega Mega Drive, because that was the one that I played the least growing up. So trying to... I grew up with some ports for the PC of Sonic and Knuckles, but now I wanted to play the real deal. So it was a lot of Sega Mega Drive back then when I started collecting, but also some NES as well.
Is the Sega sound chip something you would like to explore in the future to make like a more retro aspect of that?
Yeah, we might get to that later in another song.
But yeah, if we're going to get to other songs, maybe we should move on to the next track then to talk a little bit more about the ones you picked as well.
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it, because the next track is I Gotta Believe. I gotta believe! Exclamation mark. My emotion for this one, the melody and the structure in the start, it starts giving me more of a modern Castlevania. But then it kind of changes. It becomes happy, becomes playful for a short while, and that is definitely not Castlevania. The track at this point, it feels like it reminds me of something, and I couldn't really put my finger on it at first. But then it came to me. It is the track and music structure that reminded me of the amazing game Mutant Mudds, which is more of a modern game, in which this gave me a lot of happy memories, because that is one of those games I really loved and adored. It is simple, it's a small platformer, but it was so nice. So the pacing of this track, it does this little kind of tug and push, and it does it really well. So considering about the I Gotta Believes, like it feels it has this kind of push through, like the hero journey in some sense. Is that a correct assumption for the intention of this track?
Yeah, I would say so. And as you did this great impression of a video game character that says this line, can you give it to us again? I don't know.
You were thinking about the Mutant Mudds now?
No, I was thinking about Parappa from Parappa the Rapper. He says,
"Oh,
I gotta believe." So that is the title. I got it from the quote from one of my favorite games. But the song does not have much in common with the game besides from that, and perhaps the thing that you mentioned with the sort of happy-go-lucky feeling. And I totally agree on that. That was the aim for this, to make something very melody driven and also happy, and accompanied by a lot more arpeggios than perhaps the last one, so it's a bit more of a bubbly feeling. And then just as you said, I think you're on the spot with the push and pull, with the tension that I try to evoke between the different parts, with some perhaps more scary harmonies that might bring Castlevania back to it. And also the intro with some measures before it sort of kicks off with the melody as well is something that might sound similar to a Sonic game has the sort of same build for one of the levels, I think, with that start off with the same kind of part. But this is definitely one more melodic driven, and also there might be some hints of that tropical vibe that I'm going back to, alluding back to Star Tropics that I mentioned at the start. So yeah, this is more of my type of sound, I would say. I think it's easier for me to write these kinds of more happy sounding songs. That are more in a major key, I would say. But if the last one, the Leberdev song, was more perhaps all over the place with not the super clear melody, this is more sort of based around a melody that you actually could sing. And I think it's also from one of my voice memos of me actually humming this this actual melody. So it's from a vocal point of view more than the last song, at least.
Interesting. But I find it, I kind of liked it that they have the reference to Parappa the Rapper, but Parappa the Rapper, from my knowledge, I haven't played the game, but for me, who been taken in the game by listening to other people or seeing like gameplay of it, it has more of the rappy, shoppy kind of part.
Yeah, for sure.
And this track is more happy-go-lucky, vibey than a shoppy kind of thing. So it only has the title of a Parappa the Rapper,
right?
But has more Kirby than
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I tried to sprinkle some let's call it Easter eggs in the naming of the tracks, just as the last one alluding to a character from Deus Ex. So yeah, I tried to sprinkle that across the video game music album as well. But it's one of my favorites. I think I've played that almost. One of the games that I've played the most is Parappa the Rapper, because it's so pick up and play easy, sort of, and very, very happy. And he's so naive with his I gotta believe everything will work out. And that might be something that you tell yourself when you have one day to deadline and you have 50 more minutes to fill on your cassette. So it might also be something that I
true.
unintentionally said to myself.
Like when you're talking about the specifically about Easter eggs and so on, don't you think that can also theoretically be misleading if people kind of catch up on this? Like if they have an understanding of who Leberdev is, don't you think they would come in with the wrong kind of mindset for the song as well? Theoretically, they might not too.
That's the shady social media part of music these days. You gotta trick people into listening to your stuff.
So you're saying you're clickbaiting?
Yeah, right. You will never understand what happens next, and then paywall, boom, straight to the face.
So the next album you're doing with video game music, will that just be named Clickbait?
Yeah, right.
You just use ESO just for names of your tracks.
Yeah. It needs to be searchable. Google needs to find this.
Exactly.
No, but that's not the evil intention in this. It's more of I know video game stuff. Look, here's a quote.
Yeah. But considering this is the first of the two tracks that we're going to listen to that you specifically picked, and I would love to hear a little bit. I don't think I asked this too often to guests, though. I think I should. Why did you pick this one specifically?
Yeah, but I really like the structure of it, and that it's not. It sort of has an intro, and it loops back in a kind of nice way, and it has this during the short period of time. I think it loops perhaps 2 or 3 times or something before I end the song, and I'm quite happy with how the loop turned out, and it's something that you could potentially have on repeat with this sort of happy sound, and also it does not have these sort of saw to your eardrum kind of sounds that you can create on the Nest ship as well if you want to, but I'm quite happy with the melody and overall, and I think it sort of brings the best parts of what I experienced from video game music growing up, and having this sort of bubbly, happy feeling. So it's why I choose this one, I think, and it also, with the sort of fast, bubbly parts with the arpeggios, I think it also sort of has its place in the song. So I'm quite glad with how it turned out. So that's basically why I picked it, I think.
And you should definitely be happy about it. It is an amazing track.
Yeah, and also to be able to talk a bit about Parappa the Rapper as well. So
yeah, that's not happening every day, right?
Right.
No, but it's really, really nice, and I enjoyed this as well. And considering like the ones you picked as well, was it easier to come up with melodies for the ones you kind of hold higher in regards, or has it been a struggle like back and forth between these different kind of tracks to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work? Because it's been a new experience programming the music now.
Yeah, right. But it's I would say it's always hard when you're in the middle of creating a song, because you need to sort of take a step back and because it's so easy to fool yourself when you're in the middle of it, and you sort of you hype up yourself and like, this is the best stuff I've done, like this is an awesome melody, there will be NES cartridges falling from the heaven when I play this, and then you need to sort of step back and go back and listen, is it as good as I thought? And in this case I would say I was happy with the melody from the get-go. So I think that's, but it's always a struggle. Like I think I have at least 30 more songs in this NES style that are not as good. So this is the ones that I selected are the ones that stood out to me in some way that I at least felt proud of sort of putting out there.
Yeah.
So but it's always a struggle, but I think like having a sit down, perhaps writing music for 1 hour, 2 hours or something, and then going out for a walk for 1 hour and coming back and listening to it and trying to be, or to bring in like Magnus or someone that I know that I can sort of trust, that will give me honest reactions on things is also good when you know someone as well as I do with Magnus when it comes to collaborating on music. So, but it's always hard to know what's good or not.
But considering like how you can theoretically work with structure builds and so on for the different tracks, like when you're programming, you said that you had like 30 more tracks. Could it be that you're making some melody and so on, and then you feel like, oh, this is not essentially right? Do you usually start over and just save in the project and start over, or do you actually delete things and it's like, oh, the bridge here wasn't that well, so I'll just delete things and then work on the bridge again?
Yeah, it's a mix. Sometimes I almost every time save the project, but I would like to work in a more sort of destruction kind of way where you actually delete things, so you don't end up with hard drives upon hard drives with stuff. But it's hard to delete. But one thing that I've tried is not to record melodies using your phone and the memos and stuff, and perhaps if I get an idea late in the evening, I do not record it and I go to sleep, and if I remember it the next day, I sort of it passed the first test. I actually remember the melody, so that is sort of the first step of how I'm working now, to sort of not end up with a lot of ideas. But for this certain thing, I have just a bunch of tracks that I've named, like, I don't like this so much, get back to this later and fix it perhaps. And then also when you've done so much music, or like, am I repeating myself? Like, is this a melody that I've already written? And then you need to go back and circle through 30 files and see if it's a cover of yourself, or if you sort of reinvented the wheel. I know I did a podcast jingle for a friend, and I sent it to him, like, listen to this awesome ship track that I made, and he just wrote back like, this is the moon theme from DuckTales. so
like, God damn it.
Yeah. It's kind of easy to fall into that as well, when you have so much sort of in your brain just by memory that you recall.
But when you're working, for example, when you work with video game music, the album, did you work with any reference material, or did you just work all by yourself and kind of did things on top
Yeah,
of that.
I listened to some reference. Mostly, I would say Mega Man soundtracks because they are so sort of evolved, and just trying to understand how they do the turnaround in the loop, how they make sort of the transition in a good way, so it doesn't feel chopped. So that I listen to, and I also listen to like how many bars until it loops, and that all depends on the game. If you look at sort of perhaps the Black Series for the NES with the early games, the loops are super short and kind of evident in at least some games. But then there are some Mega Man songs that are super long before they loop. So, but that was mostly my reference, and perhaps looking at like what can I add to the lead melody, for instance. Because you can fake things such as a reverb, like an echo or like a room feeling of a lead track in the song, where you draw one line that is played louder, and then after that you play a super silent version of the same note, and that sounds like a reverb. So a lot of those sort of tricks I looked into as well when trying to create this. But also like having on the channel one knob that turns on reverb. But I choose to go the not easy route on this and try to do it sort of by the book. But a lot of those things I tried to sort of figure out listening to other songs, what you can sort of add on top of what you already have. But not so much in terms of melodies. So hopefully I have not stolen anything, but please let me know as well.
Yeah, considering like how easy it is to make music in a sense, it feels like, oh, you can copy so easily music today, but at the same time we have so much new music every day, which are not copies. So it's just amazing how much things are not still done. Yeah.
Speaking of the number of notes that you actually have, it's a miracle.
Yeah,
for sure,
definitely. Yeah. Next one, I think is interesting to twist a little bit more of what else can be done within chiptune music, because this one was actually the biggest curveball in my opinion.
Yeah.
The next track that we're going to listen to. So this is the second track that I picked, and the track name is FM Strut. Fading out the short but really good track, FM Strut. And my emotion for this, I really love this track, and I can't for the love of God not think of a tycoon game while listening to this track. It gives me the hard vibes for games such as Transport Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon, and any other type of tycoon game I've been playing ever since I was a little child. But it's kind of what I may deeply be wrong here though. But nonetheless, this track feels like the definition of this kind of tycoon era. It is sweet, it is vibey, and I'm just really happy when I'm hearing this fresh wind of nostalgia. So I would love to hear if you have any reference material to any sort of tycoon game for this track.
Yeah, you're 100% right. This is
I am?
no, I'm sorry.
Oh, damn
this is speaking about Sega Mega Drive, and this is sort of a sidestep from the rest of the album, because this is based on the Sega Mega Drive sound chip, like the FM chip that it has. So this track has a bit more channels, and I guess that is why it sounds a bit more like sort of these early PC games, mostly perhaps, like Sound Blaster-ish. But this is actually a demo for the game Wunderling that some old work buddies from the studio Bitwave here in Gothenburg was working on. So I worked together with them as a developer at Telia, and then we came into talking about video games, and I visited them and I tried out the game, but it fell through later and I did not make the music for the game, but this was sort of a demo to try out the feel for it, and it's very much sort of 16-bit era kind of game, so that is why I went with the Sega Mega Drive sound chip for this one. And as the title strut, like the game itself, Wunderling is auto-moving puzzle platformer, so the character will always walk. So I tried to sort of pull into that sort of walking, strutting feeling. But yeah, I kept it in my unfinished folder, and when it was time for this, I sort of wanted to throw one sort of odd song into this that is not as much NES sounding as the other ones.
Yeah, it was definitely a curveball for this. When I listened through the album, when I got to this one, I was like, am I listening to the same album? Did I go somewhere else now?
Yeah, right. That is why
you really made me confused.
Yeah. That is why it's at the end. I kept the confusion to the end. No, but and it's also sort of sprinkled with some almost ice cream van jingle sounding thing at every end of every measure. At every turnaround there is a sort of high-pitched little earworm kind of thing that I was aiming to make. But it's very sort of coming back to the Tycoon games as well. I would say like the graphical style that it evokes with the sort of bright colors and the happy kind of thing is also something that I tried to sort of pull into this song, because Wunderling has the same. I think they
vibrant color scheme.
Yeah, right. And they pulled a lot of inspiration from Gimmick that they eventually got to do the sequel to.
Yes.
So that was sort of the background for this song, and here you have some more channels to play around with. It does not have the same limitations as the NES chip. So I tried to sort of keep myself in place and focus on the melody, even though there were possibilities to do more.
Yeah. When you actually did this track specifically for a game that, even though it didn't pan out, like did your mindset change somehow when you had something that you did just for fun and something that you actually did for a professional thing?
Yeah, it's a lot more. It's easier when you have something to look on and try to pull things from. Like now, it's more for the other tracks on this album. It's more like, what kind of level could this be? You sort of imagine that afterwards.
What if?
Right. What if this was a game? What would the level be, or what kind of game would it be? But this was sort of the other way around. It was to some extent a bit more similar to how we work with the Dual Aeon, where we have a concept like this. This should be a kawaii Christmas song with a spoken part with a letter to Santa Claus, and then you sort of have what you want to do. So it's a lot easier when you have something to look to at least try to evoke the emotions that you see in the actual game. So
yeah, in the future, would you? Because I've seen some artists who are very interested in getting into video games, for example, that they've done their own kind of, I would say, tribute to a game. So let's say if you like Mega Man games, what if you made your own kind of, we take Mega Man 4, but I rework all the music for all the scenes and then, or all the levels, and like, this is, I don't remember all the bosses in 4, so let's just say Snake Man. This is a new Snake Man track.
Right.
Like, is that something you might do in the future?
Yeah, for sure. it's so much easier when you have something to sort of pinpoint it to. And I could go that route to sort of look at something, but sort of the dream, of course, is to work on something new and to be part of the process and have some back and forth. And also like one of my goals or dreams or whatever would to work closely with a developer to make more dynamic soundtracks, such as Banjo-Kazooie, for instance, where you're able to sort of change the sounds depending on what's going on in the stage. And I think there are some games from the NES area that does this as well. Or there are, like, just look at the star power-up theme in Super Mario, of course, where the music changes. So that is something that I really would like to work on, perhaps rather than looking at something that has already been done. But I've done bits and pieces trying to get into the industry and make music for games. I did some more horror game kind of ambient stuff for a Resident Evil looking game that was under development as well. So it's nice to sort of get out there and try it out. But yet I have not released music for a game, but hopefully that will change at some point, or I will have to make a game myself.
Considering that you in the beginning also went out and made jingles, for example, to podcasts and so on that you liked, and asked them like, hey, do you want a jingle, etc. Have you ever thought about going into the game jams, for example? Because I've heard some composers actually go into those. Where you have more like 48 hours to create a game.
Right, yeah, that would be something as well. I'm actually looking a lot into the homebrew scene for NES as of now, but for other reasons, for a fan scene that I'm writing with a couple of friends and talking to people within the sort of homebrew community. So I've made some connections there, but that would be awesome to sit down in a game jam and bash something out, for sure. But I still need to open that door a bit more, but potentially, just as with the podcasts, that could be something for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. It feels like there's so many channels and so on, and it's really hard trying to understand all of them.
That's the thing, right? But at the same time, I'm so happy to see like if we should call it like the retro gaming community or whatever, to see it sort of flourish in the way that it does. It's so impressive.
Definitely.
And you being one of them, like what you do with your podcast and everything, it's so inspiring to see.
Thank you.
Just to get out there though.
Yeah, and I'm just happy to be able to help, especially smaller composers that, for you, example, you want to get into. And maybe somebody who listen on this podcast like, hey, I'm working on a small game and I would love to get some music in.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Maybe there you can actually be able to make something together and create the magic.
For sure. You're my agent now.
Yay! And also, I'm not taking any sort of money, so don't worry.
No, me neither. I'm cheap.
It's all free.
It's all free for all. Behind the paywall, though, but...
This was the taste test. If you want more, you need to subscribe.
Right.
It's also called salary.
Yeah, right. My kid needs to eat.
Yeah, they do. Kids don't come cheap, but composers do.
Yeah, right. That's the thing.
It's a very interesting concept. It's weird.
Yeah, it is.
No, but it is amazing. I definitely from the whole, it might have been just because it's just one track, but this one stuck out, and it's one of my favorites on the whole album. This is also why I usually want to select the ones I really enjoy, but then I look at what the composers have picked for the episodes, and I was like, they're choosing the really good ones. And then I was like, okay, which are the curveballs in this soundtrack that we're going to talk about? And then I really go for the weird tracks so we can actually talk about what the hell happened here.
Yeah.
But this one, FM Start, was my absolute favorite on this.
Awesome. Then I know what my next project will sound like.
Exactly.
The taste
We're making
test.
drugs for Chris.
Right.
FM Drugs.
FM Drugs will be the next album.
The follow-up section.
The follow-up.
And then you will have one NES in the bottom of
that one. Exactly. It's all about
the circle has all ended.
Right. It's all about the twists and turns. Yep.
Yeah. But on top of that, about twists and turns, we're actually at the end of the episode, but we still have one more track to go, and this is your last pick. And I don't know if I'm going to say this in Swedish or if I'm going to say it in English. So since this is an English podcast, I'm going to say it in English, and we'll talk about if it's Swedish or English when we get back. So the track that we're going to listen to, which is the last track of this week, is called Tough. Last track of the week. This was Tough. And my emotion for the last track is someone helped this track, and it just have been injected now with a DNA string from Mega Man. That's kind of what has happened. Someone has helped, got the DNA into this track. And the track, it really envelops and it becomes, with the quick melodies and the core, it's really what makes like a strong Mega Man track. And it is a bliss to listen to this track. And so, for some reason, even though this is a new track, it feels very familiar due to this. But like I said, it is not. It is new. It is fresh. And it really, yet again, it tugs on my nostalgic heartstrings. Great work. What are you saying on this one? Like, is it Mega Man or something else?
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely sharing some DNA with Mega Man, and I think one of the core things that makes it sound like a Mega Man song is the sort of galloping horse kind of bass. Yeah, that sort of goes back to Iron Maiden and whatever put the rock into the Rockman name, sort of. So it's very much that, I would say, and as well in the noise channel that acts like the drums. It's straight out of the Mega Man book, I would say. So it's fun to do something that is similar to that.
Yeah. And something you might be familiar nostalgic-wise from back in the day. And since you kind of look back and use Mega Man as a reference as well, before you even got to this specific track, maybe you don't remember, but maybe you do. It's like, were you already looking into the references of Mega Man before going into this specific track?
Yeah, for sure. I think I set off when doing this, like, let's do this galloping kind of Mega Man thing. So that was the groundwork for this. I think I started with the drums and trying to sort of catch that feel in the song. So that is basically the cheat code to create something that is Mega Man-ish sounding, perhaps not with the genius of the composers from the Mega Man, but that is one part of the Mega Man songs that make them sound Mega Man-ish.
Yeah.
But just as you said, like the underlying tempo below the sort of oompa boompa kind of thing, it's kind of quick, so it's that enables me to do the sort of quick bubbling sounds. I think this one has the highest BPM actually in the sequencer where I made the music. So I'm able to do this quick arpeggios, and it also has something that is called a counter melody. Like you have the lead melody on top, and then you have something that sort of circles around the lead melody. And when you have as few channels as you have when you try to do something that is NES-like, it also doubles with the other stuff. So I think in this case it's the bass that jumps up and fills out some blank spots. So if you look at the song as a sort of a bingo scoring card, you first lay out the melody, and then you lay out the bass going to and then you look at all the empty spaces, and then you sort of scratch your head and like, what can I put into all the empty spaces to have
to get the bingo?
Yeah, to get the bingo, to have the channel like firing all the time, so it's not, and that also adds to the effect when you all of a sudden pause something. So you get the empty space when something is so busy. So that is something that I worked with for this. So there are some push and pull in this as well. And also trying to put together 3-part chords when you all of a sudden take the bass and the first melody channel and the second melody channel, and you try to play out like a guitar chord or something at small spots to sort of evoke the chords. So I worked a lot with that in this track.
Okay.
And besides from sort of Mega Man, I thought of this track because it's quite hectic, since it has this quick underlying tempo. It could also be for some bullet hell-ish like game as well, where it's very hectic.
Yep. Was
my sort of afterthought on this song when I bounced it and put it on a cassette. But for sure, this is the most Mega Man-ish song on the track. And I thought it sounded tough, cool in Swedish. So this is where you sort of put on your sunglasses and cross your arms and look across the room and feel tough.
Yeah,
so that is basically the idea of the song.
So it's not a reference to anything else more than the Swedish word.
No.
Tough. Oh, that's awesome. I love that part. And like when you're thinking about Mega Man music, is this your, because Mega Man music have also gone through so many kind of changes over the course of time as well, and you have even like the calmer tracks as well.
Yeah.
But is this your favorite type of Mega Man music, to have the more hectic one that many might be more nostalgic towards?
Yeah, I would say so, or at least that, like if you want to put someone onto gaming music and you want to play something that's very typical, I would go for this. But I think my sort of favorite Mega Man song would be Ring Man from Mega Man 4, but it's not as hectic. It's more melodic, I would say, because I always sort of turn more into the melodic part, since that is sort of the main craft, to write something that is hooky and that is rememberable and things like that. The sort of oompa boompa cowboy galloping bass line is more an overall feeling to the song, but then it's still down to the melody. If it will be something that you can sort of hum along when you wake up next day, and you remember you will not remember the you will remember the melody, because that's the sort of first thing, or at least the first thing that I noticed when listening to tracks. So yeah,
nice. Like I don't have that many more questions surrounding this specific song per se. It felt very Mega Man-y. I really enjoyed it. It like I said here, it really felt fresh, but still tugs on my nostalgic heartstrings here. Like, is there anything else you want to say specifically about this before I ask a little bit more questions about the whole soundtrack?
No, go for it. Let's go for the whole shebang.
Yeah, the whole shebang. Because before we started into talking about this specific track, I kind of put forth like a little bit of a warning that, hey, we're going to talk about deep stuff here. So I want to talk a little bit more about, when we're looking at this, we have a lot of tracks on the video game music here. So in total, 28 tracks. What was the challenge when you made this album, creating all these tracks and so on?
I think one of the challenges, like just jumping into the unfinished folder and trying to find sort of the edge cases or the odd ones, that the ones that would not sound like a repeating record, like to find the outliers to sort of make it interesting to listen to the next track, to make the listener feel, I wonder what will happen next, or like what the fuck is this? Like that was the hardest thing, I would say, since I picked from such a large catalog of different songs. So I think the hardest thing was to get a good mix of different things, but still sort of keeping it very melodic, and perhaps you can recognize my sort of touch both from Dual Aeon and this, like this is a David type of melody, even though the arrangement might be something else. So really trying to look at every song with that lens, like does this make sense even though the genres might be different? Is there a red thread in this in terms of melody and stuff? So I think that was the hardest challenge, because it could also been 28 tracks with as well, like so I was aiming for the broader picture, and that was a challenging part.
For me it feels like you're so used to working with music on different kind of sections and so on. To me, when you were saying that's a challenge, I was like, that would be impossible for me though. to kind of figure out, like, are these two like? Are these the same?
Yeah, right. And that's a challenge, and maybe I did not, maybe I did not succeed. I don't know, but based on what I wanted to achieve, like just the feeling of having done it, like that's the and that is also like a mindset, and it might sound sloppy to some extent, but that is rather done than perfect. Like, it's a mindset that I try to at least like, and the same thing with continuity, like to release things at a certain pace and some points be more important than to polish something, because then you will end up with something that takes 10 years, and I would rather have something put out there.
That is true.
So that is also a challenge within itself, and that goes for all. That goes for Dual Aeon or whatever. Like, don't put too much time into it, because I rather have someone listen to it. And also, like, mixing music, and this might offend some people, but you put a lot of time mixing things in your expensive speakers, and then people listen to it on their phone speaker. And you've put like days and a lot of money into mixing it and mastering it, So there's a bit of DIY mindset that I want to at least try to keep in mind as well. So that is also a challenge.
Makes absolute sense. Yeah, definitely. Know when to stop.
Right, that's the thing.
Yeah. And on the counterpart of this, hearing the challenges, what's the more achievement part of releasing video game music?
I would say, and this might be a bit boring, but in Dual Aeon, Magnus has always handled like the technical parts of getting stuff out, because that can also be a jungle of how do I get my music onto Spotify so that people can listen. Like there are so many different services to get stuff out there, because it does not end with you like, yeah, this track is good, it's done, I saved it to my hard drive. Then you need to publish it, and you need to get it out there, and you want people to listen to it. So that is something that I'm not very used to working with, because I've been very much focused on the music part. But just to get something out there and to see and to get an email like, pling, now it's on Spotify, now it's on Amazon, and it doesn't sound weird, and things have not been manipulated when uploading and stuff like that. I think that is one of the sort of greatest achievements, besides from actually creating the thing, but to actually sort of go through the giving birth to the actual thing and to put it out there for real. And also, since I'm fan of retro and the nostalgic part, to actually have something to hold in my hand with the cassette, that feels like an accomplishment to have it. It's really done. It's here. It's in my hand.
Yeah.
I can put it in my cassette deck and play it. So that feel, besides from actually being able to be creative and put on the French scarf and being super creative and weird with the tracks and things like that, just to sort of complete it has been the greatest accomplishment, I would say. And it might be boring, but it's a part of it as well.
It is, and all I can say is just a big congratulations on the release. Like being able to get something out, just like you're saying, not everybody's able to get something out because they're polishing it so freaking much.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So it is absolutely amazing to be able that you were able to share this with the rest of the world, and I hope a lot of people will be able to listen and enjoy all these tracks as well. And I hope more people will definitely find this album.
Yeah, I hope so too. But also, like, for me, I can listen to it, and I'm happy with that as well. Like I aim for the stars, land on a cloud, and if it's only me, or at least I have something to listen back to in 10 years. Like I did this is a document of time, like to actually put something out there, and hopefully streaming services in some way will be around then, but I will still have my cassette. But just to make sort of a dent in the world of chip music is something that feels very nice.
I really love the fact that you're saying that you're able to listen to this, because I so many times hear from composers that they're like, I finally released it, I don't want to hear it again because I've been listening to it 24/7.
Right, and that's the thing as well. But with this being sort of
a passion project,
and also being a folder that I've worked on for perhaps 10 years or something. So some of the songs I can think about. I wrote this when I did this. So there's also that aspect of this release. Yeah.
And that's amazing. That's really amazing. So it was very nice that you were able to come on this podcast and talk about this release.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, but before we're closing everything down, so we're closing down on this video game music section, and I want to focus a little bit more on you specifically. Is like, what's to come? What's next for you right now? Is there anything you can talk about?
Yeah.
As of now.
Yeah, for sure. So I have this thing that is taking a lot of my time right now, that is also video game related, that I do together with Magnus and a lot of other people from the retro gaming community, and that is a physical fanzine, a magazine called Videospelsmagasinet in Swedish that we're putting out there. So we've been working on a new number that is coming out this summer, perhaps at the time that this podcast is released. So that is sort of one of my main focuses right now, and then I will link up with Magnus together and start on the next release for Dual Aeon and see where it takes us, if it's Japanese or if it's English or if it's Finnish. You never know.
Finnish?
Yeah, you never know.
Interesting. I'll listen.
Yeah. And the next thing for the Tetra-eder, more video game music related thing, is that I've been working a while now on a Game Boy game that I've been doing, that I aim to release at some point, but perhaps at earliest in 2027, I would say.
Yep. Okay.
Where I will write the soundtrack and do the game. And I have a very good pixel artist that will help me out with the graphics as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I've sort of set the basic mechanics for the game. It will be a platforming game with teleportation elements.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that is what I'm working on now. Besides from everything else, I like to have a lot of projects going on at the same time, and at some magic day, everything will be done all at once. So that is what
sounds like a utopia.
Yeah, right. But I'm naive enough. I gotta believe, you know.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's true. That's true. Oh, I love it. That's amazing. And for people listening in on this podcast, what if they really enjoy the music that they've been listening to, and they go and check the full album, and they're like, holy crap, I'm working on a game and he's working on music. How can they get in contact with you?
I would say the easiest way to get in contact is through Dual Aeon socials. And then it's Instagram, and it's DualAeon. So the hard to pronounce name. I think that
Dual Aeon.
right. That's the phonetic.
The phonetics. Yeah.
Slightly drunk.
It's not me having a stroke.
So that is the best way to reach out, I think, and if you're in Sweden and you want to have something physical to read this summer, you can check out Videospelsmagasinet as well on Instagram, and we will keep you posted there as well. But that's the best way to get in touch, I think, through Instagram and the Dual Aeon channel.
Awesome. And from that point, is there anything else you felt like I've missed to ask about your work with the video game music?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I have nothing more to say. That it's been such an honor to be part of this, and again, like I've been coming back to, thank you very much, Chris, and for asking me to join and for doing this for so long with the podcast from the past. This is nothing. This takes work, people listening.
It does.
It's not something that you should take for granted, that you get to listen on a podcast like this, because it takes a lot of work. You need to book people like me being flimsy, and you need to put stuff out there, as we've been talking about.
Research, I need to make the episode.
Right.
Sometimes need to play the games,
Right.
and they cost money.
For sure. That's the thing.
And of course, I'm supporting each and every composer that gets to this podcast. I even bought the video game music soundtrack for this.
Yeah.
So this is my way of paying it forward towards the composers for making this amazing work that you do. I'm not all just talk. I'm actually doing things.
He's also walking the walk. That's the thing.
Exactly. I got the boots and I'm walking the walk. But yeah, I am so honored that you were able to get on this. It is so much fun, and I'm extra happy that you were able to release this so we could have something more specific. So we're not just going deeper into just Dual Aeon, that we were able to combine it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that, I would say, even helps you get your video game structure out a little bit more as well, instead of just being able to talk about Dual Aeon, which is a solo project. It's not like, hey, I can ghostwrite for you. Maybe you can do that too. I don't know.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Yeah. I'm super happy.
He's open for business, people.
Yeah. Just give me a link
Give me
up.
a call.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, enough of the shenanigans. It is time to say goodbye. So I would love to thank David Almroth for coming to episode 68 to talk about his work with Dual Aeon and his solo work with the video game music. And for people who joined in on this episode and liked the episode of what we were talking about, there is, of course, a lot more out there. And you can find those episodes just by searching for Gameable Audio on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Pocket Cast. And of course, everywhere else you can find podcasts, I guess. I've started hearing so many people, that's so generic. People just say it because you can't really say where the podcast's at. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on this one. Don't forget to also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Gameable Audio there as well. And feel free to follow and comment on one of our social medias. Just today, when we are recording this episode, we had the giveaway for the Heavy Metal Death Can, where we showed the winners. And I'm not going to tell specifically which winners there are, because that will spoil. Everybody go and check those socials out instead, because funny videos are funny. And I try to be funny. At least I try. Feel free to go to our social medias to be able to join giveaways that will happen over the course of time of this podcast. You find it either on Facebook or on Instagram. You search for Gameable Audio. And we have this awesome Discord server where David will hopefully stay and enjoy his time here as well. And if you have any question to him, you might be able to write him even on Discord. So that one exists as well for everything. And if you want to support the podcast as well and the work that I do for this, feel free to become a Patreon backer to have a little bit early on and a little bit more background talk with me. And also exclusive podcast that I'm not effectively releasing new episodes each and every time regularly. But that will also happen over the course of time. Feel free to become a Patreon backer. And the current awesome backers that we do have today is Daniel Lundmark, Lars Schenström, Titti Schenström, Kevin Wikström, Sandris Wikström, and Mats El Kebabo Tapper Holmqvist. Thank you so much for supporting my cause with this podcast. And links where you can either buy and support, well, in this case, David, who worked on this music. You can find those in the episode description. And the podcast theme music was, as always, done by the amazing Thor Myrdal. I am your host, Kristoffer Schenström. And with that said, thank you all for listening in on Gameable Audio, and see you guys next time.